Hello everyone and welcome back to today's video. In today's video we will be going over the game between Lord Invader and Ezra. This was game 3 in the first round of my tournament, which is the knockout championship. Um, they had they had a competitive game 1 and game 2, neither of which I saw, but I was talking to Lord Invader about those games. Unfortunately, Ezra would not allow spectating, so instead I've decided that since Lord Invader so kindly decided to record the game and post it as unlisted to YouTube, I will go over his commentary and I'll just go over the game. So without further ado, it's your Lord Invader.
Hello everybody, and welcome to another Stratego video. I am the player known as Lord Invader, and today we're going to take a look at my Game 3 match against Ezra in Winner's Knockout Tournament. It's a best-of-3 series. Ezra took the first game, I took the second, and this is the tiebreaker. What I noticed in our first two games is that Ezra, who has an ELO of 299, is a very aggressive player, and so I chose a setup that has some traps for aggressive players, and the positions of the power pieces are somewhat unexpected. This is a setup that was created by Napoleon Premier and posted on the old Stratego.com forums as part of a feature called Setup of the Week. I really like this setup. It seems to work very well. So you've got your power pieces on the extreme flanks, and once your opponent discovers one of them, they suspect the other one is guarding the center. And you've got a couple of decoy bombs in the center there. You basically let your opponent come to you in the center, and once they discover those bombs, they'll try to bring a miner down, but the flag's not anywhere nearby. It's behind the marshal in the right corner. Generally, what you want to do is advance on the right side with the colonel, hoping to get a major or captain, and your general is there on the left flank to do the same. Hopefully, ambush a colonel or a captain, preferably. A colonel or a major. You've got a major there defending so that your general can't easily be discovered, and that major then is bait, hopefully, for an unsuspecting colonel. So let's get into it and see how this game goes.
Okay, so basically, I like the setup. It has strong. It is these center bombs, which if one is discovered, the other is going to be hit. This is a structure that I haven't really used personally very much, but it's one I could definitely see myself using against someone that I've played a lot. The Marshal and General placement is interesting. Of course, the big worry is that they both get discovered, and then the Colonel is very strong in the center. I had a game that was kind of like that against Broken Clock recently, where he was able to discover both the Marshal and the General, which were exposed on the flanks, and then he came in the center with the Colonel. Now, I was able to win that game, but it involved some risk taking and then eventually trapping a Colonel. So yeah, but it's definitely not clean. It's very difficult to come back if both these pieces are discovered. The flag also can become a hazard. Not something, probably something I wouldn't play in a game 3, especially a player who's as strong as Lord Invader should be able to beat Ezra. Most of the time without very much difficulty, as he did in game 2. So definitely a setup that I like, but maybe not the situation I would use it in. But Lord Invader, as you can see, won the game. He clearly knows what he's doing. So since it worked, I'm not going to negatively comment on um, his the choices that he used to win the game. So yeah, let's get into the game.
My opponent very aggressive, attacking right away with his captains. So I'm already up one captain. Hopefully, we'll be up two captains soon. I suspect he's blitzing down my left flank, though, so I'm wary of taking that captain because I think he's defended by a.
Yeah, so originally is a very good idea with not taking this captain, even though it is risky because if he hits down, then do you trade the captains? Do you take with the general? It's a tough decision. It's based on is this the marshal or is it the general? Now, I would personally probably just take the captain, go here, and then force him to take a risk. If he decides to take, then I would come up with the general and just take control of the lane, try to counterattack in the center. Again, if you're expecting your opponent to marshal blitz, though, this is not the setup that I would select with this spy location. So I think it would have been better for Lord Invader to have the spy like here or somewhere on this side of the board if you didn't know. Also, the front row colonel, probably not a great idea if you're expecting a marshal blitz. Um, but anyway.
Marshall.
And now he
Finding
plays
a
pressure
major
here.
on the right. Again, he's very aggressive with those mid-range pieces.
Now he decides to take the captain. I find it interesting that he decides not to take it immediately, but then he takes it right here. Yeah, but then here comes a sequence I don't really like. This is a bad move. Um, it's just it's pinning the general onto this side of the board, and it's making it obvious that there's a good piece right here. So maybe even Ezra could justify coming down, taking, and then taking the general. Um, but we'll see. And then he
This
plays.
is really looking like a Marshall now.
And then I feel like there are a couple of things you could do here. I feel like you could actually the move I would play right here is just moving the major up. Um, I feel like he doesn't want to trade, so you could move that out of the way, and then you could maybe sack the lieutenant, and then get the 2 square advantage with the general. But instead, he decides to immediately sacrifice the lieutenant. What? Oh, wait, he does this first, finds the general.
And I will.
And he decides to sacrifice the lieutenant, um, which means that he's going to lose both of these pieces, and then he's going to move the general, and then the general is going to be scouted. So basically, you're down a colonel, major, and 2 captains, and marshal general info. I think you're doing pretty well, but I don't see. Uh, I feel like he could have played this better, where he sits the major here, forces him to take a risk, and has the general more wide open. So maybe he can pick up a major or something, or just hold this flank, stopping any further progress.
Usually take a major with a colonel, even if it's defended, because I think that trade, a colonel for a major and power piece information is a pretty fair exchange, particularly during the early stage of the game. Now I know where his marshal and general are. He doesn't know where my marshal is. Fortunately, he is not being very aggressive with that.
He's trading off a lot of his unknown pieces for Ezra's known pieces, which I don't love. Um, However, it is in a position where trading does favor him. Um, but the real trading that favors him is getting the majors off the board. So trading off his unknown mid-range pieces just takes away targets that he can go after to try to get an advantage in the mid-range, so that he can even withstand if he's unable to get any majors or colonels back. Um, and maybe he could win with like three lieutenants and a captain against a major and a colonel. We'd have to see what direction the game goes. But early on in the game, it's definitely better to not trade off your unknown pieces for your opponent's known pieces because known pieces are targets. So
General.
here,
And
that's
I'm
fine.
thinking he suspects that my marshal is guarding the center right. And he's bringing down a major, and he's just plowing.
This is probably not the greatest bluff in the world. You have a lieutenant's a pretty strong piece, so you typically don't want to bluff it against a major. A justifiable bluff might have been moving the major and the lieutenant up, so that way he would have to call both of these if he wanted to hit. Probably not the colonel and the lieutenant because you don't want to make this colonel too obvious. Um, so he
Right
does
into that
call this
major.
bluff. He moves the colonel up, and he interesting decides to hit here. I would not have done that. Would have come back, especially because this ended up being the spy, so you're pretty safe. So if Marshall takes, you're fine. You have to use the colonel, the unknown colonels, to pick up a captain, or you're going to be losing because it's going to be a 3-on-1. But if you get a captain with the colonels, which I suspect you should be able to, you've got two unknown colonels, you should be fine, even if this is the marshal. And if he takes right here, you're doing very well because a marshal is better than a general, and it would be a and it would be marshal and colonel against a general and some other pieces, which is usually winning. So.
Hoping to find the marshal, I guess, but very aggressive major. So now I've got to find his colonels, and I need to bring my marshal to the center to defend the major and the colonel. I'm suspecting this piece coming down is a
Now
colonel.
I would have used the marshal differently. This is definitely justifiable though. He's applying pressure in the center. It would have been, especially since he really suspected this to be the spy. I think going over here would have made more sense. Pressuring this, which ended up being a colonel. Um, Maybe get a hit because Ezra has been extremely aggressive. You kind of have to read the flow of the game. And showing your marshal for just a lieutenant when I feel like you could get so much more is probably not the greatest idea. However, now he's got a 3-on-1. Um, yeah. So I'd say he's doing all right.
We'll let him discover my marshal.
Yeah.
And this piece, he's either going to die or
Interesting. Takes a big risk here. He's really basing a lot on this being the spy, which it ended up being, and it's a very reasonable call. If I were Ezra, I would come into the center with the general now, because this was the spy. So you've got a colonel and a major to target, um, and maybe you could sneak. Since you know the colonel, you can use this major sneak to here, um, especially if you don't suspect this is a bomb. And what you could do is you could sit the major here, threaten with the marshal. General moves, takes the captain. You have some options.
going to be a colonel trade.
Instead, he goes up,
Hoping
and
it's
this
be a
is
colonel
going to
trade
be a
because
swap.
I am up a major and two captains at this point. So I want to get his colonels and general off the board.
Yeah, instead he does this, which I really don't like. There's no reason to be.
I thought that piece was.
There's no reason to be moving in here. You're just going to end up losing the major on an eventual bomb, unless you get really fortunate, and then it's going to turn into a 4-on-1, which is not what you want. Um, yeah, that's really not what you want. It's already 3-on-1. You really can't afford to lose this major, so this is a very, very bad decision from Ezra.
Was a colonel. I've forgotten it was a major. That's why I scouted it with the minor. rescuing my general. And my goal is to trade generals.
Yeah. Okay, now I would have kept the marshal trapped. Just keeping it trapped on this flank really helps him out in this position because he can. What he wants to do in this position is he wants to get a swap. So you can keep it trapped and then see what his intentions are with the general. If he wants to trade generals, then that's completely fine. If he doesn't, then you might have to move it out. But I would have at least originally kept it trapped just while you were still considering what you were going to do. However, this is a completely justified move. I'm just talking about my personal preferences.
This piece can't be a colonel the way it's acting. My marshal can defend the major.
Yeah, so now he gets a trade there.
Allows me to
It's
trade.
very good. It's actually much better to trade off the generals in this position than it is to trade off the marshals because now he still has the spy to counter, and his spy is incredibly unobvious, whereas Ezra, in my opinion, has a very obvious spy right here. So
now I suspect that piece that was behind the general is the spy. Just need to find his last colonel, and we should be good to go. We're up 2 majors and 2 captains. And I'm going to see if I can scout that piece. And so, judging from the way he defended it.
yeah, so I wouldn't have sacked the captain there. I think it would have been. You're getting very aggressive vibes from Ezra, so it makes sense to use a scout first, and then maybe on the second potential bluff you can use the captain. But you just have to kind of read the game. I still think he's definitely much better up to 2 majors in the captain, but it's less clear now, and it just makes this position a lot harder to win. Um, it would have been better to use the scout.
I suspect that that is the spy. I'm going to try and force a marshal trade here. I'm not sure why he didn't 3-square, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so another risk, but a very calculated one. This one, you really need to get the marshals off the board to stop him from trapping any majors, and this is really looking like the spy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now we're good to go, and what I need to do is maintain control of the
Yeah, now
lanes.
he takes a lane. This is very good. This is exactly what you need to do. You don't want any like sergeants coming down to lotto, finding these bombs, and then you could potentially get a colonel lottoing this. You don't want him to take out the miners and force this into a draw, or maybe even worse. So, very good initiative from Ezra, from Lord
Bring a
Invader.
miner down. And need to find his last captain, which should happen soon. Maintaining the 2-square.
Yeah, I would have probably moved up the major to take the lane before I went in with the captain.
With his colonel.
Yeah, so he gets a captain trade. That's
There's
good.
A captain trade, and fortunately, I'm able to get my major over to the right flank to defend.
Yes.
The flag.
So he understands the idea right now. The idea is to grab the flanks and then try to see if you can trap some pieces.
This piece coming down, I suspect it's the spy. I wanted to save my miner so that he wouldn't lotto it.
Okay, that's a very interesting move. That shows some fear along maybe this being a tripod, maybe this being corner flag. But I'm thinking this is more likely to be a tripod because I feel like you hit when it's in this position. Let's go back. I feel like you hit here if this is the corner flag, or maybe you go over, and if he goes down, you hit. But if he goes, it's over, then you hit. I feel like it doesn't really make sense. If this is the corner flag, then you hit here, or you hit when the captain goes down one more. I feel like if you hit here, it's really tipping towards this being a try bet.
I wanted to save my minor so that you wouldn't lotto it.
Yeah.
It's like a good candidate. That space.
Yeah. Okay.
Next to. That's always a good spot to lotto, so I wanted to get my minor out of there. Yeah.
Okay, he finds the minor. Yeah, so obviously he has 4 sergeants on the board, so this miner's probably not going to be able to do very much good. Yeah.
A lot of the other spot.
Comes there. Now, he could move down here. That's justifiable. Could also come up and over. Maybe take out this bomb and then lotto behind. Maybe he could go after this piece. There's no correct move here.
This miner's not going to make it, but hopefully we'll find something that we can
so sergeant
take out.
So now the game plan for Ezra is he has to make sure that Lord Invader can't really move a ton of pieces because he wants to stop him from getting a miner to the flag because obviously he's able to block off all 3 flanks. And he has a lot of pieces trapped here, so he's probably not going to be able to get a miner to the flag. So the next best thing is to force a draw. Also interesting he did this. He is sacrificing one of these 2 pieces. I mean, if he goes up, there, takes. I think that Lord Invader probably made the right move here because you don't want to let this piece onto the board because you have these 2 bombs and then you have this. This could be a corner flag. Since he allotted this, it seems like he's thinking it might be a corner flag. And obviously you only have the spy there, so you could be forced to sacrifice the major, or you could just lose the game outright. So that was a good call. Yeah, but now he gets his piece for free.
He's got no lieutenants, so I'm not too worried.
And now this is really looking like a tripod. He moved that piece. You have to go grab this lane again. I feel like the best way to do that is to come there. If you do it this way, then you lose this lane. So I'd say you might have to use the sergeant, which I don't love, but it might be the best.
About the right flank. This piece coming down, I suspect, is a miner. So I'll bring the captain over, position the major so that it's...
Actually, I'm dumb. He doesn't lose the center if he does that. He had this nice in between move of the major coming here. It was very silly. I missed that.
Captain over, position the major.
Now obviously
so that
over.
It's 2 squaring the colonel. Now we'll bring
now we can come down and
over to the left.
If he wants to claim the flank, then he'll have to sacrifice this piece. Now what I would probably do is I would probably do this and then scout the corner. Yes, okay, that's exactly what it is. Because I'm not too afraid of this piece having access because I feel like the sergeant can easily stop much bad.
So. Sergeant.
Yeah. So he takes the sergeant. I feel like now I would use the major to try to cut off because I don't want him to defuse this bomb.
I don't want to trade because I only have 2 miners left. So, if at all possible, I'd like to keep both of those miners.
Okay, so he does that. So I feel like this was a mistake. I feel like the best move here is to trade. Just you don't want to let him take out another bomb unnecessarily, especially because he's likely going to lotto anyway because he just knows these two bombs are getting obvious, this corner flag's getting obvious, so he's likely just going to start lottoing, and you really don't want to allow that.
That's why I didn't trade there.
Yeah.
But it's not going to matter.
Yeah, so he just moves it on. Yeah, I would have probably moved to the right here with the miner just to try to get into a better position with it. Um,
Now his setup formation is pretty easy to read. So we've got a tripod. We've got 3 bombs over there. We know a 4th on the right flank, and I suspect he has the right flank bombed off. And I would really want to find his last 2
so now he takes
miners.
this lotto. This is a logical lotto. It is risky because if you lose it, then you could actually lose the game. Um, yeah, so takes, but you do know 5 bombs, so you do have a good lottoing shot with this major. But if you hit his 6th bomb here, then you're in a lot of trouble. Even though you do suspect this is a bomb because none of this has moved. So let's say you hit bomb here, then you come on and you get I think 3 pieces. Um, so I'd say you're doing pretty well. Um, yeah. So probably 1 scout and two actual pieces. Let's say you get a minor and a sergeant. Is a minor and a sergeant and knowing everything worth it for a major? It's tough to tell. Ezra might be able to force a draw in that position, but it's tough to see. The sergeant should be able to defend pretty well because he has no lieutenants and no captains. Yes.
I am willing to
Yeah,
sacrifice
but
a major
instead he predictably gets 2 pieces because I think the bomb will be somewhere back here. So very good lotto.
do that. So we've got 4 miners. Now I'm 3 squaring with his colonel. This piece moves, so I strongly suspect it's a minor. And I have such a material advantage that I don't mind sacrificing a major to get this piece. And
Here, I feel like it made sense to take earlier because now this a sergeant, if he has a sergeant here, it can get out, but it's a small matter.
In the corner. And now I just need to get my last miner up to the flag. My major is defending what I think are the 2 sergeants over there on the right flank. So he can't move them. So the only piece he can really move is his colonel. I'm going to save that miner. I'm going to 3 square. So that miner is safe. And so now I just need to trail his.
So here, I feel like it makes sense to get into the center with the miner because you have this boxed off.
His colonel up to the flag.
Okay, now this is a classical draw structure. This is officially a draw if you assume this to be the minor, because all he has to do is, let's say, he just made, let's say, okay, so obviously it's Ezra's moves right now, so he goes down. Um, let's say Lord Invader just makes any random move, then then he goes down again. And he just always has to keep opposition with the minor. Minor goes left, minor goes left, he goes left. Minor goes to the right, he goes to the right. If the minor ever moves up, then he moves up. and he just keeps him in this game. And if the miner doesn't move, then he just has to make a random up or down move, which means that it's as long as he doesn't. Yeah, he should be able to always make a random up or down move. There shouldn't be any problems with that because if it gets into this position, and obviously he doesn't want to go up because then the miner can go here, and then you can because if the miner can ever get to a position where it's diagonal from the kernel, then he'll win the game. Um, uh, Ezra has to keep opposition, but I doubt Ezra knew this rule. So
There we go. So he just
instead,
has one sergeant left, and
also here,
there we go. So he just has
he moves here. I think Miner here would have won the game on the spot. I think. Yeah.
one sergeant left, and I have a feeling he's bombed it in the corner there.
This is a draw now. Now Lord Invader's winning. So if the Colonel comes in, he's diagonal from, and he can just slowly press towards his flag. Yeah, so now he's coming up, and he gets. Unless this is the flag, but this seems highly unlikely to be a flag because of just the lack of defense for this side of the board. Maybe it is, but it seems highly unlikely.
Doesn't have something tricky up his sleeve with that tripod over there. Bring the captain over just in case.
Yeah, takes. Also, probably it was slightly better to come over and hit with the captain just in case it's a sergeant, and he's trying to be cute and not take. Because if you go over take and it's a sergeant, then you still win the game. But if you hit here, then it's a sergeant, then it's a draw.
And get the flag. So there you have it. I hope you found that interesting. Good game to Ezra, and we'll see you again sometime on the battlefield.
Yeah, so a very interesting game. I would say that the big thing was j- Ezra was not able to get any captain. He was well. The big thing was this lotto here. He lottoed this bomb, and that really screwed him with the major because that meant that he was down 4 pieces, and he was able to get one back, which made it a little bit more interesting. But having a 3-on-1 against the Colonel is not a good thing at all. Because he can just neutralize the lanes and he can still continue to attempt to advance. So at worst, it was going to be a draw once he got up those 3 pieces. So that's really the story of the game. Lord Invader made a few technical mistakes, which I talked about, but overall he played very well and he deserved the win, and he will advance to the next round of the KO Championship. So anyway, thanks to you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.